Previously on Samurai Jack. As a UFO crashes on Earth, Jack and Ashi begin their travels to Aku's lair to destroy him once and for all. During their time together, the two warriors begin to form a strong bond, making them act somewhat awkwardly around one another. Regardless, they eventually come across the crashed UFO in the midst of a sandstorm and decide to take refuge inside, unaware of the vessel's former function. As they wander inside, they come across a monster named Lazarus 92, a hive mind comprised of hungry space leeches, and the one device that can destroy it. After more awkwardness, they finally kill the monster and embrace one another in a passionate kiss. We begin exactly where we left off, with Ashi and Jack in mid-kiss, and finally realizing that human lips are not supposed to taste like space leech guts. They spit out the vile fluids while apologizing to one another, not wanting to make it look like they hated their experience in spite of the leeches. After finding a breach in the ship's hull, Ashi goes to look for some replacement clothes, while Jack climbs out. He steps outside, reflecting on what has happened, and even finds a broken pipeline from the ship conveniently leaking water. He uses this to take an impromptu shower as Ashi returns in her new outfit, his gi in hand. She quietly gawks at his silhouette before disappearing around the corner before Jack notices her. He smiles at his reflection as he puts on his outfit, but his reflection does not smile back. The familiar, haggard version of Jack from earlier episodes appears and warns himself to be careful about Ashi. The samurai admits that something like finding true love like this has never happened before, and he does not know how to deal with it. As night falls, Jack and Ashi sit and eat around a campfire, having hunted down some local wildlife in the sand. After much silence, and admittedly strange animation, Ashi asks Jack if he ever thinks about his home. The samurai admits he does in a melancholic tone. He reminisces about the beauty of his home, how he would see the entire village from the top of his father's castle, and how it changed as the seasons rolled by. Ashi then asks Jack if he ever found a lover, to which Jack says there was not enough time to find one. Jack had been only 8 years old when Aku appeared to destroy the world once again. Ashi apologizes for bringing up his past, but Jack simply replies that these memories are now the only way he will ever see the past again. The next morning, Ashi is shocked to discover that Jack is gone. Meanwhile, on the ashen landscape of Aku's domain, a familiar metal skull is riding a cephalopod straight to the tower. That's right, Scaramouche has made it across the ocean, and undoubtedly numerous obstacles, and has finally made it to Aku's lair. The determined robot scuttles down to the front door, where a familiar figure awaits him. At first, Scaramouche is ecstatic over Aku waiting for him, but is soon disappointed to discover that his employer has left an intercom in his likeness to greet anyone who comes to visit. The machine basically tells Scaramouche to get lost, but the persistent robot is having none of it, as he scales the tower and squeezes himself through a hole in the wall. He eventually summons an annoyed Aku, and finally tells him that Jack has lost his sword. Elated, Aku restores his minion's body and dances in celebration, thinking that now his longtime foe will be much easier to destroy, unaware that his assassin's news has come far too late. Back in the desert, Jack wanders alone after leaving Ashi behind. He aimlessly traverses the sands until he stumbles across a familiar landscape covered in metallic corpses. As he climbs over the lifeless bodies of dozens of deactivated, rusting robots, he finally finds the center of the graveyard, where a destroyed obelisk rests. Beside it is a pair of red, cracked glasses. Jack closes his eyes, saddened by the scene. For those not familiar with the previous seasons, allow me to explain. This place once held a time portal, powered by the now destroyed obelisk, and all of these corpses, big or small, metallic or organic, were once mighty warriors who desired to use it. But they were all defeated by a man of unknown power and strength, a man simply known as the Guardian. Once, even Jack fought against the Guardian to use the portal, only to be brutally defeated after an intense battle. The only reason why he survived, however, is because this portal was unique. It was sentient. The portal told the Guardian to spare Jack, as the samurai would have been worthy to use the portal in the future, had Aku not destroyed it before that time. Sadly, it appears that even the Guardian, with all his might, could not defeat everyone, as it is clear that Aku has destroyed him and the portal. As Jack reflects upon this discovery, Ashi finally tracks him down. She asks him why he left without saying a word, to which Jack responds by telling her to go back. Ashi pleads him to help her understand what the samurai is going through, why he has become so distant all of a sudden. Jack explains that everyone he has ever known and loved has been taken by Aku, leaving nothing but memories behind. He does not want Ashi to succumb to the same fate. Ashi softly smiles as she takes Jack's hands. She proclaims that destiny brought them together, and thus they shall defeat Aku together. This moment of warmth is brief, as a voice booms through the mechanical graveyard.
Samurai Jack.
A dark figure looms above the two warriors, gazing down upon them with wide eyes. Aku has finally come. The Shogun of Sorrow and Scaramouche laugh at their enemies, believing they have no way to defend themselves, until Jack reveals his sword. Aku immediately glares at his goon, then promptly fires him. And by fire, I mean straight up destroy him. As the Master of Misery begins to take his leave, he pauses and sniffs at the air. Something has caught Aku's attention. Something familiar.
I smell me.
Aku looms over Ashi, who arms herself with an abandoned blade in retaliation. He proclaims that a portion of his essence resides inside her. He ponders as to how this can be, and remembers a time he paid a visit to a cult who worshipped an effigy of their ruler. A cult completely comprised of female assassins. Yes, Aku actually appeared before the daughters of Aku years ago, impressed by their tribute to him, in spite of it being a pale comparison to the original Aku. As a token of his appreciation, he bestowed upon them a goblet full of his very essence for them to worship. But then, after he left, an awful idea dawned upon the High Priestess. She took the goblet and hastily drank Aku's essence. Months later, she laid upon an altar, pregnant and screaming. I'm pretty sure we all know what happened next. And thus, years later, Ashi stands before the being she once worshipped, horrified to learn that she is still a daughter of Aku, in more ways than one. As Jack charges at Aku, having had enough of his trickery, the demon smiles. Jack's sword meets Ashi's as she stands between Jack and his foe. She swears that she didn't move, but Aku says otherwise as Ashi attacks Jack violently. Somehow, through the essence she was born from, Ashi is being controlled by Aku like a puppet. Jack urges her to fight Aku's influence, but she keeps attacking furiously, much to her dismay. The two warriors are evenly matched, but Aku has another trick up his sleeve. Ashi's clothes and skin turn pitch black as she screams in fear. The darkness consumes her, her eyes glowing brightly underneath a pair of parallel flames. Ashi has become a hybrid, a blend between human and Aku. She lashes out at Jack, unable to speak to him under the blackness, until Jack's sword scrapes it away. She regains control for a brief moment and begs Jack to kill her. The samurai cannot bring himself to do it, and soon relents. He surrenders his sword and kneels in defeat. The hybrid moves to kill Jack, but Aku stops her before her claws make contact. He plucks the samurai's sword and cackles in victory as the episode ends. As the penultimate episode comes to a close, I am left at a loss for words. The plot development given right at the end certainly took me by surprise, and has left me wondering just how this season is going to end in the next episode. Aku has all but destroyed his foe, now wielding the very sword that can destroy him, and having complete control over the one woman the samurai has ever loved. It's like a sucker punch to the gut, especially after making that theory in the previous episode about how Jack and Ashi could have lived together in the future after destroying Aku. Is that even possible anymore? Can Ashi be saved by Aku's influence? Can Ashi even exist if Aku is destroyed? Well, we'll have to wait for that in the next episode. The final episode of Samurai Jack, to see just what the end has in store for us. In the meantime, though, never stop rambling. This has been Rambles and Mumbles of a Nerd, and I thank you very much for watching this episode.
Hey guys, this is RaMoaN, aka Rambles and Mumbles of a Nerd, and I want to thank you again for watching this episode. If you like my content, why not leave a like, maybe a comment, or heck, maybe even subscribe for more nerdy content. And if you want to see more of my work, feel free to go to the Rambles and Mumbles of a Nerd Tumblr page. There you'll find all sorts of rambles and mumbles that I've made prior to the YouTube page, and some of these posts may even get their own YouTube video someday. Normally I write the Tumblr posts first, so if you want to see content before my YouTube channel gets it, feel free to follow my Tumblr page. Well, that's pretty much it. Thank you again for watching this episode, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.